As a rule, Wednesday is always fascinated by death and the macabre. But this wasn't always so. Sometimes this shelf lover found time for love. It was lovely. She had her first kiss, a romantic date, and even an engagement. Of course, not all the boys were perfect. There was one awful person who tried to kill her. They were all different. That is why today you'll learn the full story of Wednesday's relationship with her boyfriends, who appeared in various film or TV series adaptations. Warm greetings to all my furry friends, it's me, MultiAlexson. There may be spoilers ahead, so watch out. Get cozy, grab some tutti frutti. We're about to enter the dark world of the Addams family. Let's start with Sam Sedgwick, the son of a tycoon Samuel Sedgwick from the TV series The New Addams Family. One day he got tired of his father's constant supervision and decided to run away to become a musician. However, he had no idea that this would lead him to another family, the Addams family. When Sam was driving by the Addams house, he got into an accident and lost consciousness. All thanks to the pranksters Pugsley and Uncle Fester, who blew the lid off of a manhole cover. Of course, Gomez and Morticia wanted to help the young man, so they took him inside. Not long after that, Sam woke up and met Wednesday, as she was practicing shooting a crossbow. He advised her on the best distance to shoot it, and from that moment on, she was very interested in him. It became even more clear as Wednesday started to take care of him after Fester injured the boy again while testing Sam's bike. Even though he claimed to be fine and said that he had to go, she didn't want to let him go and insisted that he should stay a little longer. While they were alone, Wednesday opened a Pandora box for Sam and asked him to show her something special in return. Without hesitation, he picked up the guitar and sang about death, death, death. As you might have guessed, she liked it. Moreover, she started dreaming of a life together with him. But the dream, as it usually happens, was interrupted and they started chatting. She found out that his father didn't want him to be a musician and that they hadn't seen each other for a year. It is sad, of course. And the longer the chat went on, the stronger they felt the connection to one another. Wednesday even ended up inviting him to stay with her family, to which Sam smiled and agreed, and both friends proclaimed,
"Soulmates forever."
Soulmates forever.
If only he knew who he was dealing with. Anyway, their chat continued and moved on to the electric chair, because Wednesday wanted to show Sam how it worked, and he didn't mind. At the same time, she was advising him to someday talk to his father about their problem. The advice was very welcome, because Sam immediately took it during his birthday party, which Gomez and Morticia organized for him. Son and father met and decided to discuss all of these misunderstandings at home, but for Wednesday it meant that it was time to say goodbye. At the end, they exchanged gifts. She gave him a brooch and asked him to never forget her. He gave her his jacket, and they hugged. Then he left, but Wednesday kept something else to remind her of him, the brakes to his motorcycle, so that he would soon return. Another true love of Wednesday Addams was Joel Glicker. At first, he was a shy boy who suffered from allergies, but after meeting Wednesday, his life changed. And it all started when he first saw her at the opening of Camp Chippewa. The moment they laid eyes on each other, something happened. Maybe it is love at first sight. Later, they got to know each other better during their stay at the Harmony Hut. I should explain that the Harmony Hut is a special place for children where they could think about who they are. In other words, if someone didn't follow the camp council's stupid rules, they would get there. And Joel was one such person. He didn't like the camp and its rules. For that reason, when the punishment ended, he wanted to leave the camp. However, this plan failed. They, Wednesday and Pugsley were there too, didn't even have time to cut the barbed wire before they were cut. As a result, the little fugitives had to listen to insufferably happy song. Then our sweethearts were finally left alone and were able to chat. Wednesday found out that Joel was allergic to almost everything, but that fact made her like him even more, and it really did, because she invited him to Uncle Fester's wedding the next night. At one point, Joel was so excited to be going on a date, except Wednesday ruined it by telling him it wasn't a date. Anyway, it was a date where she cut the bride's bouquet.
Now you have to get married.
It's not binding.
After that, Joel helped Wednesday in her investigation to confirm her suspicions that Debbie Jelinski was the Black Widow and Uncle Fester was her next target. However, their plans to rescue Wednesday's uncle were ruined by this play. At the end of the camp counselors always stage a play about the first Thanksgiving, where the good kids were cast as the pilgrims and the social outcasts as the Chippewa natives. Everyone got a part, some were happy, some were not, and some refused to participate in the play. Of course, that was Wednesday, but she didn't know the consequences. Thereby, the trio were again locked up in the Harmony Hut, where they watched Disney and other movies. How could they do this to them? Anyway, when the punishment was over, they pretended to change their minds and wanted to take part in a play in which Wednesday would play Pocahontas and Joel would play her husband, an Indian chief. During the performance, everyone was doing what they were supposed to, except for Wednesday and her team. She broke character, gave a truthful speech about how the American colonists would exploit the Native Americans in the future, and roused the other outcasts to revolt by destroying the set and burning down the camp. After all of this madness, Joel and Wednesday fled to the Chippewa fence and started saying goodbye. She asked him to come with her, but he couldn't because he wanted to help others and to watch the camp burn. Dramatic music ensued, followed by promises, promises, promises. Joe said that he would never forget her, and Wednesday said that she wouldn't forget this day or Chippewa. The moment of passion grew, Mancher and Karamia flew out of their mouths, and they kissed. And she left to save her uncle. Sometime later, Joel met up with Wednesday again at Puber's, her little brother's birthday party. And surprisingly, he found the Addams family interesting, especially her parents, who were so involved with each other. When they were alone, he was curious if she wanted to get married and have children someday. She told him no. Then he asked her what she would do if she'd met the right man, who'd worship and adore her, who'd do anything for her, and who'd be her devoted slave. To which she answers,
I'd pity him.
Honestly, I pity him too, because Wednesday will definitely torture her future husband. And that joke where she frightened him at Debbie's tombstone is proof. Do you remember this innocent guy and his love story? Even if you don't know who he is, I can help. Tyler appeared in the Netflix series Wednesday. He worked as a barista in the cafe Weathervane in a small American country town of Jericho. One day, Wednesday came to this place when she was trying to escape from Nevermore Academy. She wanted to buy coffee, but she couldn't. The coffee machine was broken. So she offered Tyler a deal. She'd fix the machine and he'd call her a taxi. When the coffee machine was brought back to life, he agreed to take her where she wanted to go. However, he could only do it in an hour. This fact didn't please Wednesday at all, but she had to wait. Meanwhile, 3 guys walked into the cafe and started teasing her. Well, they chose the wrong path, and soon realized that. Then Principal Vince found her and got her back to the Nevermore Academy. Of course, one failure didn't stop her, so she made another attempt to escape at the Harvest Festival Fair. The plan was simply to ask Tyler to take her to the train station. Strangely enough, he agreed to help her without asking for anything in return. That's so sweet of him. Anyway, as the festival started, they were ready to carry out her plan, but again our bullies interrupted them. Running away, Wednesday bumped into Robin, her classmate, and saw a prophetic vision, a vision where she saw his death. It frightened Rowan, and he fled into the woods. And then something strange happened. He attacked Wednesday and tried to kill her. The reason was the child full of war would destroy Nevermore and everyone in it. That is what his mother said before she died. When Wednesday was trying to calm Rowan down, a horrible beast unexpectedly appeared and killed him. It was really uncanny, so she decided to remain at Nevermore Academy and find out what was going on there. The next day, Tyler met Wednesday when she was leaving Dr. Kinbo's office. This doctor was Wednesday's therapist, and even Tyler's therapist, as we found out later. During the conversation, he supported her by believing what happened to Robin, as no one at school believed that he died. Thank Principal Wims for that. She was the one who covered up his death, so the school's reputation wouldn't suffer. All this help and support that Tyler gave Wednesday is only because he wanted her to fall for him. This plan was realized step by step. She asked him for help again, this time to find the original Pilgrim Meeting House. Tyler knew more about the town of Jericho and its history, so he told her that it was located in a cabin woods. By investigating this place, she saw a new prophetic vision of her ancestor Addams, one of the original outcasts, and Joseph Craxton, a prominent pilgrim who had committed atrocities against the outcasts. When her vision finished, she was face to face with the same monster that had killed Robin. It quickly disappeared, but left behind traces, from which Wednesday did learn one thing.
Monstrous human.
She shared these thoughts with Xavier, who was luckily close by. And this guy was a school friend of Wednesday, who had been interested in her from the day they met. As you might have guessed, Tyler and Xavier were sworn enemies. Anyway, this unexpected meeting led Wednesday to suspect that Xavier might be the monster. She became even more convinced when she saw pictures of the same monster in his private art studio. It was only a guess, and still Wednesday wanted to know more. She decided to invite Xavier to the Raven Dance and learn more about this potential killer. To be honest, Tyler wasn't pleased when he found out about it. However, everything soon changed. Xavier refused to dance with Wednesday because he found out her true intentions. Instead, Finn, her best friend and family member, decided to ask Tyler to dance, of which Wednesday wasn't aware. Therefore, on the Raven night, she was dancing with Tyler, while Xavier was kicking himself for being unable to forget this girl. Oh, these love triangles. During the party, Xavier told Wednesday why he and Tyler had become enemies. Turns out, this innocent guy assaulted Xavier and destroyed his mural on Outreach Day a year ago. When Wednesday asked Tyler about it, he told her that he'd done terrible things, but he wasn't a terrible person. He's lying! How well said. Anyway, after that party, the new Sherlock continued her investigation and soon followed a new trail that her ancestor Goody Addams had pointed to. It was the Gates Mansion, a place full of secrets. She was gonna check out this place with Enid, her roommate, and Tyler. Of course, she lied a bit when she told him that it would be a date, but she didn't really care. By going in there, she figured out that someone lived there, someone who collected the body parts from the monster victims. Perhaps she wouldn't have found more if the monster hadn't interrupted her investigation. It appeared unexpectedly and slightly injured Tyler, but luckily they managed to escape. What's interesting is that Xavier reappeared immediately after this incident. That was very suspicious. Anyway, when they were looking after Tyler, his father, Sheriff Galpin, came back home and trouble followed. He was angry with Wednesday because she was responsible for this, and because he didn't like her as well as all the outcasts in Nevermore. The sheriff forbade her to meet with Tyler. Sure, like everyone is going to listen to him. Moreover, they're listening to him so well that the next time they met again, Tyler invited Wednesday on a real date. But I'll get back to it. Before that, Wednesday met her Uncle Fessor, who helped her find out what kind of monster killed Rowan. It was called the Hyde. Yes, this is the references to the dual identity of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The Hyde is a person who is compelled to turn into a monster through a traumatic event or chemical inducement or hypnosis. Anyone who set the creature free became its master. This meant that Wednesday wasn't looking for one killer, but two. She almost believed that Xavier was a Hyde, but who was his master? Everything fell into place when Wednesday saw Xavier's secret meeting with Dr. Kinbot. After that, she told Uncle Fessor about her guesses, but their conversation was interrupted by Tyler. He wanted, as I mentioned before, to ask Wednesday out on a date, and she unwillingly accepted. As it turned out, Tyler was a real romantic. He prepared a cute picnic in the Crexton's crypt. It was lovely. At first, they watched a scary movie, and then he chose the right moment and admitted his feelings to her. He wanted them to be more than just friends. Wednesday said that he was making a mistake, but he didn't really care. He only wanted to kiss her. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it, as Sheriff Galpin interrupted their date, because he was looking for Wednesday's uncle. Anyway, the date was over, and as usual, Wednesday continued her investigation. She found out that Laurel Gates, an ancestor of Joseph Crexton, who was considered dead, was actually alive. This lady was a master who came to take revenge on all the students of Nevermore Academy because of her family. Wednesday knew that Laurel was really Dr. Kinbot, so she visited her and told her that the game would be over soon. But everything went wrong. Dr. Kinbot was killed by the monster immediately after meeting Wednesday. No one expected this, especially the child Flower. Xavier had to pay for all of his crimes, but she was unable to find any sort of incriminating evidence, so without hesitation, she framed him because she was absolutely sure that he was a Hyde. Sheriff Galpin arrested Xavier, and finally Wednesday had caught the murderer in his master. But is the game over or not? After all that and being in a good mood, she decided to finish her interrupted date. She came to the Weathervane Cafe, and the two lovebirds finally kissed. Of course, she had no idea that it would bring her another vision. She saw Tyler, his true identity, and it turned out that her first boyfriend was a psychotic serial-killing monster. Along with the members of the secret society Nightshades, Wednesday accused Tyler of all of the crimes, but he denied absolutely everything and pretended to be a good, innocent guy.
I'm not the monster.
I'm an angel. Not one of the best, but I try. And I make mistakes. Bicycles were a mistake.
Of course, he was lying, so Wednesday had to torture him. The original Wednesday is back, but such measures weren't to the liking of Beineke and her team. They had no choice but to report her to Principal Wims. As a result, Sheriff Galpin interrupted the torture and rescued his son. In the police station, Tyler confessed to Wednesday that she had lost. He shared that killing people brought him pleasure and warned her,
You have no idea what's coming.
Anyway, she wasn't scared. On the contrary, she carried on and found out that Laura Gates was actually Marilyn Thornhill, her botany teacher, who unlocked and nurtured the monster. She manipulated Tyler by showing him that his mother was also a Hyde and that she had died because of the outcasts. Laura locked him in a cave for several days and used plant-derived chemical until he became her slave. Pity the guy. However, no matter how hard Wednesday tried to ruin Laurel's plan, she failed. Joseph Crexton was revived, while she was on the verge of a life and death. Tyler wanted to finish Wednesday off, but failed, and it shapeshifted into a werewolf and protected her. Their deadly fight was impressive and emotional, and yes, ended one. Although, if Sheriff Galpin hadn't shown up and shot his son in the arm, everything could have been different. Anyway, this time Tyler lost. He was seriously injured, so his father took him away. After that, Wednesday sent Craxtons back to hell and finally cut Laurel. But what about Tyler? He was under arrest, chained in the back of a police high-security van. Perhaps he was being transported to a place impossible to escape from. No chance would they gather, because Tyler woke up at that moment and started turning into a Hyde. He'll break free, and then we'll see. Either he'll still be a villain, or redeemed villain. Because without Laurel and her plant chemicals, he may change, and join force with Wednesday to stop the new villain that'll appear in the second season. Or he has been so effectively brainwashed that he'll never stop trying to kill her. Anyway, these are only my guesses. To sum up the relationship between these two, Tyler was the worst boyfriend that Wednesday Addams had ever had. He was always using her, had no feelings for her, and wanted to kill her. Of course, in the second season we will have a new boyfriend. Maybe it'll be Xavier, maybe someone else. We'll know soon. And the last one on this list is Lucas Beineke, a hopeful romantic from Ohio. Have you ever heard of him? Probably not, because this character has never appeared in movies or TV series. He came to us from the musical show The Addams Family, a new musical. One day Lucas got lost in the park and met Wednesday. He described their first meeting like this: I was lost in the park and a pigeon dropped on my feet with an arrow in it. And I looked up, and there she was, Wednesday with a crossbow. This is the moment he fell in love with Wednesday, and she with him, and they planned to get married. Of course, she wanted to get her parents' blessing, as well as introduce them to Lucas. After all, he had to know what he was getting into. Together they planned a dinner to introduce their families, where the couple would announce that they were gonna get married. When it happened, Morticia, her mother, and Mel, Lucas' father, objected to their marriage. She explained that since Wednesday met him, she'd been laughing and crying and thinking about going to Disney World. Meanwhile, Mel just didn't like the Addams family. He thought they were insane. All these misunderstandings only made things worse. But up with it all, Wednesday decided to run away and get married without their blessing. And you know, she wasn't scared. She ate scared for breakfast. But Lucas wanted to make some rational decisions. He couldn't just flee. It was too crazy. Then they had their first fight. Though not for long. When Lucas had let her shoot an apple off of his head with a crossbow, he had proved his love for her. It meant he was willing to die for her. So she forgot all of the misunderstandings and decided she did want to marry him after all. Meanwhile, their parents also realized that they were wrong, and Wednesday ended up getting their blessing. And everyone was happy. To sum up, all of Wednesday's boyfriends are different. One was her best friend, one was willing to die for her, and marry her, and yet another one was ready to kill her. Sure, there will be other boyfriends, and we're looking forward to seeing them. Alright, it's time. You can discuss everything, ask questions, and share your theories in the comments below. Tell me, which guys do you like or dislike? I am looking forward to reading your comments. Luckily, this isn't the last Addams Family video, so if you don't wanna miss a new one, subscribe to the channel. And finally, don't forget to leave your warm likes, so I can release a new video as soon as possible. As always, it was MultiAlexson. See you in the next video, my dear fire fans.